Good evening, YouTube. I'm Amber. This is Amber Online, and today we're talking about The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. Katniss Everdeen is back in the film adaptation of Suzanne Collins' second novel in the Hunger Games trilogy, Catching Fire. Here we're back looking at the dystopian future in which the world has been ravaged by what one can assume is nuclear war, and the elite have been raised up to live in a technologically advanced city, while the rest of the populace is essentially slave labor to them, separated into 12 districts that specialize on mining or creating resources for the advanced civilization that lives in Pan Am. This is a very interesting look at a dystopian future. I know it's been done before. Yes, I'm aware. But as is often the case with things that get reviewed widely, this is the one that caught on. It caught fire, as it were. No, I'm sorry. I won't do that again, I promise. But very intriguing look at the potential future in which we built a society on the backs of slaves once again, and really with any dystopian future, it kind of echoes elements of the world that we live in now. So, for instance, we have the West, perhaps, and a lot of labor going on in the East, perhaps, where, my shirt is made in China, and they got paid 3 cents an hour to do it, and they starved. And I could not finish my all-you-could-eat sushi last week. I couldn't do it, guys. I just ordered too much. I had to throw it away. So when we look at it from this perspective, of course, with much good science fiction, this is a social commentary, and furthermore, it's entertaining. We have some really creative ideas with the genetic war that's taken place before this point, that we have all these manipulated animals, including the mockingjay, the jabberjay, that is the sort of signifier in this film. For fans of the books of the Hunger Games, I think this second offering is much stronger. The budget seemed bigger, quite frankly. The special effects were done much better, and I think the fidelity to the book was maintained. There are a few instances, particularly that you can think of, where there were some minor changes made. Perhaps when you're thinking of their training sequence, Katniss already knows how to make a fire and is instructing others rather than the other way around. And also, when they're doing their test for the judge, Katniss is able to see what Peeta has done, the painting he painted of Rue and the flowers before. She hangs the dummy before them, which didn't happen in the book. It was a separate act of defiance, which I think makes the characterization of those two characters a little bit stronger when they behave independently, Peeta and Katniss, in that instance in particular. However, that being said, a lot of the choices that were made were obviously made for time, because, quite frankly, you can't put an entire book in a movie unless, you're making The Hobbit and you put one book in 3 movies and then you just add things in. But when you're trying to put one book in one movie, you have to cut certain things for time, and it's unfortunate that some of those cuts have to be made. For instance, the sequence when Katniss encounters the rebels, and they have the little mockingjay biscuits and stuff that they can eat, but they can still symbolize that they're part of this rebellion. It's too bad that's not included, but at the same time, it's okay. Like, if you've read the book, you understand that it's supposed to be there, and if you haven't read the book, then it's not a big deal. It doesn't necessarily detract from the plot. The games this year, once they actually get into the arena, were very, very well done. I feel like they went a little less extreme in the Capitol with as far as makeup and styling of people, but the other tributes were well cast. They were well acted. I particularly liked Joanna. She did a very good job at being another female counterpart to Katniss that is not just there to die. So you don't have Peeta and Gale and Katniss as a central focus all the time. You also have this other female character that's coming in, and also Prim got a little more screen time, being a little more useful in this film, and I think that's nice, because where I'm going to go with this is a little tiny feminist diatribe. I promise I won't do this all the time, but because this is a science fiction story centered around a strong female lead. I think that it's important to give at least a little mention to the fact that she is a strong female lead and really nothing else. She's not especially useful. Katniss seems to be very good in the games and very bad in the rest of life. You know, she has these survival skills that she's developed to take care of her family, but I think the problems with Katniss's character as a female role model are solidified in the second to last scene in the film, where she's been taken out of the games after she destroyed the dome and she was all awesome, and you're like, yeah, Katniss is hardcore, and she walks into a room with 3 men who basically treat her like a hysterical woman and tell her that, you know, they didn't tell her what their plan was because she was being watched, and it was best that she didn't know because she couldn't handle things like this, and they knock her out again. And so they can get on with the plan and doing the things that men need to do. So that particular scene rubbed me kind of the wrong way, and rubbed me kind of the wrong way for Katniss's character. Not necessarily that I think it was untrue to her character, but I think given the other things that she can do and the things she's seen and the things she sacrificed, I feel like she could have taken on a little more at this point. Katniss's character coming up to the rebellion, it still feels very much like someone who's just trying to survive. And this has been her whole life. And she's just tried to get through, you know, living in District 12 and taking care of her family, and a mother that's broken down and a father that's absentee, and protecting her sister. And she's still sort of at that stage that she's lost everything, but is still sitting in this situation where she doesn't know. She's not a strategist. She's not prepared to make a move yet. She was ready to run away and abandon the district when you have Gale sitting there telling her, like, no, we're going to fight. We're going to win. We're going to overthrow. You're a symbol to this rebellion. You're a symbol. And she doesn't want to be a symbol. And I had an interesting conversation about this film afterwards, that those people who are often the heroes in the rebellion are not the people that we think of as heroic figures. And I think perhaps that's what's being maintained about Katniss, that she's done all of these things reluctantly, whereas we look at the Games Master, who's sort of orchestrating this rebellion with Haymitch, who for some reason can just, like, give up alcoholism and get it all together when the moment demands, which I didn't know was a thing. Maybe there's a shot in the Capitol he can take. But the Games Master particularly is very, very ruthless, and he's willing to encourage President Snow to have floggings and to have public executions in order to keep the population under control, with the further aim of gaining his trust and allowing himself to be inducted into the inner circle so he can better manipulate the games, keep Katniss the symbol alive.
I agree she should die, but in the right way, at the right time. Katniss Everdeen is a symbol. We don't have to destroy her, just her image. Show them that she is one of us now. Let them rally behind that. They're gonna hate her so much, they might just kill her for you.
So this man who's really the hero and part of the guiding force and on the inside for the rebellion is not a heroic figure. And I think if Katniss was willing to go to the lengths that he's willing to go to, she wouldn't be a heroic figure either, and that's why she's sort of kept out, at least up to this stage, that she's not part of this planning and orchestrating, because she would lose her vulnerability and her relatability if it came down to that. If she was at the stage where Joanna is, it's just like hacking people up and killing them and having no one left to love and being angry and then saying that we're doing this all for you, because she understands Katniss as a symbol, and this willingness to sacrifice that Katniss will sacrifice herself but not anyone she loves yet. As far as the Katniss, Peeta, Gale love triangle, I think they did a good job of establishing that in this movie. I think they maybe made her seem a little closer with Gale than I felt she was in the book. I wanted her to be with Gale anyways, but I know, if you haven't read the third book, I won't spoil it for you, but I think I kind of already just did. But they do that relationship well, because they can sort of see how she's fallen for both of them, and how her relationship with Peeta is becoming a little more logical, that, he always wanted her and she never wanted him, but they have this connection now because they're in the Hunger Games together, that only he can really understand her, and only he knows where she's coming from, and he he has a comparable life situation now that sort of ties them together. Overall, I think it was a very, very well done movie. I quite enjoyed it. The performances from all the actors were strong. As I said, it was well cast. I think Jennifer Lawrence does a really excellent job with Katniss because she sort of embodies that feel you get when you're reading the book, and Katniss is trying to internalize everything, basically. She doesn't want to appear weak or fragile or scared or let anyone know what's going on with her, and she cracks sometimes. And I think Jennifer Lawrence does a good job of that, when she's in a public forum, she's neutral and she doesn't let on to a lot of things, but she cracks. And she's trying to be strong, but she snaps at Effie, and she has these nightmares, and she can't keep it together all the time, especially after she's dealing with PTSD after the first games. So if you enjoy a science fiction romp, even if you haven't read the books, this is a good film to check out. And I think that you do sort of have to see the first one to know what's going on in this one, so I wouldn't recommend just skipping to this one. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Good job. Good world building in this particular world. I know not everyone agrees that this is good world building, but I think it's definitely solid, and there's a reason that things like this take off. It's because the characters are relatable, and the story is still a very human and sensitive story, despite the fact that it's science fiction. So check it out. Hope you enjoyed. Wow, I've talked for 10 minutes, so I'm going to shut it down. Enjoy the Hunger Games. I'll talk to you later. Bye.